Anniversaries come and go, but this one felt different. It was worth acknowledging. It marked a full year since I realized my marriage had ended. I know what you're thinking. Who in their right mind celebrates something like that? But it wasn't about celebrating the pain. It was about recognizing that I had survived it and emerged stronger. A year ago today, I was sitting in my office, lost in thought, questioning everything. This is what I signed up for, is it? I remembered the vows, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. Death, at the time, it had started to seem like an escape route, my exit strategy. That was the day I discovered that my loving wife of 6 years, my best friend, my everything, was nothing more than a deceitful __. You're probably assuming the signs were obvious, that she stayed out late, rushed to shower as soon as she got home, always claimed exhaustion when I initiated intimacy, and constantly picked fights over trivial things. But no, none of that happened. I was just a blind fool. So how did I find out? It was a Wednesday, just before lunchtime. I had wrapped up an unexpected client visit and was heading back to the office when I decided to stop for a fried fish sandwich from my favorite spot. They call it the Whale, a crispy, golden fillet topped with tartar sauce, fresh lettuce, and tomato, all tucked inside a warm bun. You know how it is when everything in life seems to be falling into place. Business is running smoothly, customers are happy, and you're looking forward to a well-earned meal. That was my mindset at the time. I was content, oblivious. Then it happened. I was sitting at a red light when I spotted my wife's car. She was driving in the opposite direction, but instead of continuing on, she turned into the parking lot of the Don't Tell Anyone motel. What the hell? Curiosity, or maybe instinct, took over. Instead of heading to my lunch spot, I veered right into the gas station lot next door, parked, and watched. She stepped out of her car and walked straight to one of the motel rooms. No hesitation. No looking around. She knocked. The door opened. She disappeared inside, like she had done 100 times before. What the hell? Now, I know what you're imagining. I stormed across the street, pounded on the door, then broke it down and tore into my wife's lover with my bare hands. Or maybe you think I snuck around the back, found a gap in the curtains, and witnessed everything firsthand. No, I needed the truth, but I didn't need her to know that I knew. So I sat. I waited. An hour later, she emerged. 5 minutes after that, a man in a tailored suit followed. He got into a sleek Lexus and drove off. Exactly the kind of overpriced car someone buys to show off. I was useless the rest of the day. Work didn't matter. Nothing mattered. I holed up in my office, researching divorce laws. Turns out, no matter the reason, adultery or not, the outcome was the same. No-fault divorce. Damn her. Damn them both. And then it hit me. I didn't even know who he was. How could I make him pay if I didn't even have a name? But fate has a twisted sense of humor. That night, I barely spoke a word to her. She kept asking what was wrong, feigning concern. Did she feel guilty? Was she afraid I knew? Or was she so lost in her own selfish chaos that she hadn't connected my mood to her betrayal? I turned on the evening news, needing a distraction. A local report came on about a bank robbery that had happened earlier, right around lunchtime. Surveillance footage played on screen, showing a masked figure. And something about her height, her build, even her eyes, sent a chill down my spine. Because, despite the mask, she looked exactly like my wife, of course. I knew it couldn't have been my wife in that news report. She had been too busy at the motel. __, some jerk in a Lexus. But that didn't mean I couldn't have a little fun with the situation. Maybe I wasn't even pretending to be naive. Maybe I was just leaning into it. The next morning, I casually called the police department and asked about the robbery. They told me they had a few leads, which in cop language meant they had nothing. So, playing a concerned citizen, I mentioned that the suspect on the news bore a striking resemblance to a woman who lived across the street from me. I even gave them her name. To add weight to my claim, I mentioned that she had recently purchased a new car, half-truth, since I was the one who had bought it. And just to reinforce my story, I let them know she wasn't home at the time of the robbery, which, ironically, was absolutely true. I figured they'd knock on her door, asked a few awkward questions, and I'd at least get a laugh out of it while I worked on filing the divorce papers. But things turned out much better than I expected. When the police saw just how much she resembled the robber, they asked her where she had been during the heist. And when she failed to provide a solid alibi, they brought her in for questioning, or as they politely called it, an interview. Of course, to clear her name, she had no choice but to confess where she had really been, and with whom. It didn't take much for anyone listening to piece together the truth. While she sat at the station waiting for them to verify her alibi, the officers headed straight to her lover's house. He wasn't home, but his wife was. She provided them with his work address, and their sudden interest in her husband did not go unnoticed. When the cops finally got hold of him, he tried to deny everything. So they did what any good investigators would do. They went to a motel and pulled the security footage. Sure enough, there he was, walking into a room with my wife. The police didn't particularly care about his infidelity, but they weren't too pleased that he had wasted their time lying to them. And since lying to law enforcement is a crime, they decided to pay him another visit that evening, this time to charge him with a minor offense. Call me suspicious, but I have a strong feeling they waited until he got home just so they could arrest him in front of his wife. It wasn't anything serious, no massive fine, no jail time, but it was enough to cost him his marriage. The scandal spread like wildfire. It was too juicy to stay a secret. The officers shared it amongst themselves, then their spouses, who shared it with their friends, and before long, the whole town knew about the cheating couple's little adventure. Even the judge handling my divorce cracked a smile when he realized who she was. In the end, my divorce was finalized. She followed the process, said all the expected things, and played the role of the regretful ex-wife. But her confidence was shattered, and no amount of rehearsed words could fix that. Everywhere she went, she was met with whispers and hushed laughter. Eventually, she packed up and left town. Where she went, or whether she and her lover stayed together, I have no idea, and I don't care. I moved forward. Looking back, I sometimes wonder if all the effort was worth it. I knew she had been unfaithful, and divorcing her was always a plan. But I wanted her to suffer the humiliation of having to admit it. To say out loud, yes, I'm a liar and a cheater, but I'm not a bank robber. It wasn't as satisfying as I had imagined, but if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't hesitate. A few weeks later, I had a visit from 2 officers. By then, my role in the whole ordeal was obvious. Officially, they acted like it was just another case. Unofficially, they admire my work. One of them was divorced. The other was in the process of getting there. So, over a quiet chuckle, I offered to buy them each a beer. That was the closest thing to a fine I had to pay. Just don't do it again, one of them said. I wasn't sure if he meant falsely reporting my wife as a criminal or marrying her in the first place. Either way, I agreed. And now, here I am 1 year later. The deception that once haunted me is gone, and I'm rebuilding my life. I cut ties with the friends who were really just extensions of my wife. The ones who stood by me, I held on to them even tighter. I didn't rush into dating. I waited until my divorce was final and took time to process everything. Then, about a month ago, I met someone. She's around my age, and like me, she's also divorced. Her husband had cheated on her, too. We connected instantly, sharing stories of betrayal and resilience. And just like me, she's on a mission to find the best bourbon ever made. We take our mission very seriously. Maybe we'll succeed, maybe we won't. Either way, we're enjoying the journey. Tonight, she'll be here to celebrate my divorce with me. And for the first time in a long time, I'm actually looking forward to an anniversary.